So in today's web dev tip, we're going to take a look at how you can create a typewriter type effect on your page using just CSS. So you can actually create a more fancier and customizable version of this using JavaScript. But if there's a reason why you can't use JavaScript on your page, or you just want to use some of the effects that are available to you with CSS, then this tutorial will show you how to do that. I've just got some text on the page here in a heading level 1 tag. The first thing I'm going to do is just wrap this in a div with a class of Typewriter, just so it doesn't affect any other contents on the page, should we have any. And then I'm going to write some CSS which will actually animate this text on the page to make it look like someone's actually typing this in. So the first thing we're going to do is just target that Typewriter class and the heading level 1 tag inside that specifically as well. And the principle of this effect actually relies on creating an animation for this heading level 1 tag. And the animation that we're going to apply is just actually modifying the width. So let's create an animation here using the keyframes keyword. We're going to go from a width of 0% to start off with, all the way up to a width of 100%. We just apply that to our animation property here. So typing, and we'll say it lasts for 2.5 seconds. You should see if we refresh the page that the width is being modified, although it's not giving us that typewriter effect just at the moment. That's the key to this effect, is basically to just modify the width over a period of time. So what's basically happening at the moment is the width of the heading level 1 tag is being modified, but we're still getting overflow. So if we actually hide that, using overflow hidden, refresh the page. When we refresh the page now, hopefully you can see that the width is being modified. Now the text is actually fitting into the available space that's there. To stop the element expanding from left to right, if we actually set the margin for top and bottom to be 0 and left and right to be auto, if you refresh the page now, you can see now the text is actually moving from the center out as the heading level 1 tag's width expands. Of course, for the typewriter effect, we want all of the text on one line. What we can do is say the white space for the line is just set as wrap. And now when we refresh the page again, you should see all of the text stays on one line, and it looks like the text is coming from that center of the page and expanding to the left and right. So the other part of the actual effect is having the blinking caret or cursor of where the person may be typing. So what we'll do is just put a border on the right hand side of the heading level 1 tag. And let's just say it's 2 pixels, solid and white. Make that just a little bit thicker. Let's say it's 4 pixels there. And of course, usually with a cursor or a caret, it will blink every second or so. But let's set up another animation for that. We'll say keyframes and say blink. And we'll set the from and to range for border color to be transparent, which will basically just hide that line that we've got on the page at the moment. And at 50% of the animation, what we'll say is the border color goes back to white. So if we apply that to the heading level 1 tag that we've got up here as a separate animation, we can say we want to blink every 1 second, and we'll set that as infinite. Okay, so you can see that line is now blinking, giving the effect of a cursor or a caret. And if we refresh the page, you can see that it matches where the text is coming out as the hidden content gets revealed. So viewing the animation as it is at the moment, it's very smooth. It doesn't really look like it's being typed. It just looks like some text is sliding across on the page. So we can do a few things to actually make it look a bit more like the letters are being typed individually. So the first thing is, in our animation, we can actually set a step property in here. And if we set that as 50, for example, that just means for the width modification, there's 50 steps in between the from and to parts of the animation. Now when we refresh the page, and it's a couple of times so you can see, it looks a bit more like the text is coming out individually as each letter is typed. The other thing we can do as well is actually adjust the letter spacing so that there's more space in between each letter, so it looks like they're being typed individually. So let's just set the letter spacing equal to 4 pixels as well. And if we refresh the page again, it looks a bit more like the text is coming out one letter at a time. There you go, there's a typewriter effect using just CSS. There are some customizations which you could do with JavaScript which would make it look a bit more effective. Obviously we're stuck with the one piece of text that we've got in the heading level 1 tag. And of course, once the animation's finished, that's it, it's over. Unless you want to loop it over and over again, if you wanted to re-trigger this, you would need some JavaScript to actually reset it and get the animation starting from scratch. There you have a simple CSS typewriter effect. Stay tuned for more web dev tips.